And hello, my amazing students. This is your favorite teacher, Mr. Jacobson. I'm excited to be with you. We have much to cover, and it appears that this might even be a little on the short side compared to the last one. We'll have to see how that goes. So let's go ahead and begin. All right, guys. So we're talking about the Jewish belief in text. We're gonna rehash a little bit over some things we talked about before, but it won't be a true rehashing here. It's gonna be just a brief gloss over. So during biblical times, the Jews were the only people to believe in one God. Jews believed that God had guided their history throughout His relationship with Abraham, Moses, and other leaders that we like to call prophets. And of course, monotheism is the belief in one God. So here's a funny comic. We have two guys talking, and they look like they're from ancient times. And one of them turns to the other and says, "The trouble of monotheism is that you can never get a second opinion." If it's not funny, think about it. Okay, belief in education. So Jews, they believe in teaching their children about Judaism when they are very young. Even today, it's still very much the same way. They believe in raising that child so that they learn about God. They're very familiar with the Torah and the Nevi'im, the Ketuvim, the Tanakh, and the Talmud, so that as they're older, they'll continue in that way. So anciently, boys would study with professionals about their religion. So a strong thing in Judaism is the belief in justice and righteousness. To Jews, justice means kindness and fairness in dealing with others. Everyone deserves justice, even strangers, criminals, etc. So no matter where you are, you deserve to be treated kindly and fairly. Okay? According to the law. Helping the elderly and the sick are very important to Judaism, and Jews believe in acting proper even if others around them are not. So here's a picture of a Jewish doctor, and of course he's helping, looks like a gal here who's probably in some third world country, and unfortunately she's lost her leg, which is obviously very sad. But it's that compassion that is very important to Judaism. Jews believe that God gave them laws. Most important law are the Ten Commandments, but Moses also was given more laws by God. So those laws that are not the Ten Commandments that Moses received are called the Mosaic Law or the Law of Moses. And the Mosaic Law, they guide many areas of Jewish life today. One area that it guides is that it teaches them what they can and can't eat. Okay, so one thing, they can't have pork, shellfish, and other items. If they have meat, it has to be prepared a certain way. And food that they can eat is called kosher, which kosher means fit. So kosher is basically a way of saying that it's approved by God because it fits the criteria of the law of Moses. So here are icons that you can find on products from the store and grocery store. That if a food you get at the store, if it's kosher, it will have one of these items, one of these icons, or even an icon that's not on here that might be more obscure. This is by far the most popular of all the icons, the Union of Orthodox. So there are three different types of Jews today. They're the Orthodox Jews, and they are strict followers of the law of Moses. You have the Reformed Jews, and they do not follow many of the ancient laws. And you have the conservative Jews. These are an in between. These are in between the two. So these people are strict. These people are very relaxed, and these people are right in the middle of the two. So if you look at these people, do they look strict, relaxed, or in the middle? You probably say, well, they look pretty strict. And if they look pretty strict, then you would agree that they are the Orthodox Jews, as seen at the very top. Okay, another thing about the Hebrew Bible, they call it the Tanakh. Everyone say Tanakh. Very good. Keep working on it. So the T in Tanakh, the T right here, stands for Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses. The N stands for the Nevi'im, and the K and H stands for the Ketuvim, which is the writings and songs. So the Torah here would mean 5 books of Moses. Nevi'im would be whatever the prophets have written. That is so it'd be like the books like Isaiah, Samuel, etc. You know, if you're familiar with the Bible. If not, then don't worry about it. And the Ketuvim are from writings, books such as like Ecclesiastes, Psalms, Proverbs. Those are considered writings. They're not written by prophets, but they're very important to know. They're words of wisdom. Okay? So the Talmud is really important. The Talmud is a set of commentaries and lessons for everyday life. Talmud is a collection of writings about the Hebrew Bible. And Talmud is very important, but not as important as the Bible. So if you look at it as what's important, the most important is the Torah, okay, or the Bible. And then the second most important of all the Jewish writings would be the Talmud. So this is the way you say Talmud in Hebrew, or write it. And then right here, this is Yerushalayim. So this is Jerusalem. This is the Jerusalem Talmud. So Dead Scrolls are also writings that were found in 1947. These writings are quite impressive because they were found in a very small cave. Really impressive. A herder kid in surrounding areas of Israel. He was trying to find a goat or a lamb or something that he'd lost, and he looked into a cave, and it was kind of dark in there, and he thought maybe the lamb or the goat went in there, so he threw a rock, and expecting to maybe hear a sound of a goat or something, so he knew that the animal was in there. But he, instead of hearing like a sound of an animal, he heard the cracking and the smashing of clay, which eventually they go in and they find all these passages written around 100 BC to 50 AD. And it had all these scrolls about people called the Essenes, and they were observers of the Jewish faith. And they wrote down on these scrolls to preserve them because they were about to be conquered by the Romans, and they want to preserve these writings. Very fascinating indeed. Okay, so in this slide, we have at the very top of the Dead Sea, you can see where Qumran is located. This is the area in which the first of the caves of the Dead Sea Scrolls was discovered. It's at the very top of the Dead Sea here on the west side, and since then we've discovered about maybe 11 to 12 other caves that had ancient writings from the biblical period, which we have today now. And many of those writings are writings or books of from the Bible that we even have today. So it's really cool to try to compare the two writings from then into what we have today from our Bible. So here's another picture here at the I like this picture a lot. So here's what one of the caves looked like. As you can see, these caves were not super easy to get to. And they did that for a reason, because they didn't want Romans to just, walk into a cave. They actually had to climb to get to those caves, and they did that so it increased the chances of the Romans not finding them and destroying them. Because again, they wanted these writings and these records that were important to them to be preserved. And here we have a beautiful clay pot. Look how massive this thing is. And this is where they would seal up those scrolls. And the best thing about the climate they lived in is they lived in what we call dry or arid climate. And because it was, then the paper of the scrolls, they didn't disintegrate. And if this had been, if they had tried to do this in the Amazon or something, they wouldn't have stood a chance, because the humidity would have eventually seeped into the pots and it would have destroyed the scrolls. But because it was very arid and dry, the scrolls could last for over 1,000 years, which is quite amazing. So some of the influences that Judaism had in other cultures, there are two major religions that came from Judaism as far as the influence of monotheism goes. One is Christianity, and the other one is Islam. Okay, so Judaism influenced many cultures in both Europe and America. Jesus' teachings reflected many Jewish ideas, and Judaism influenced both Christianity and Islam. So it's very important that you understand the other religions that were influenced by Judaism. And lastly, here are some more influences that I want you to be mindful of. The first one, the Jews made it really important in societies to realize that you need to honor your parents. It's important to have respect for your parents. Uh, it strengthens a community when the elderly are appreciated. Second, do not lie or cheat. Third, many people do not work on the Sabbath or Sunday, and that's mainly because of Judaism, which also was a practice that Christianity adopted as well from Judaism. And fourth, giving money for charity and tithing. Tithing was very important in Judaism. It was the idea that just give 10% of your income. So, for example, say you're working and you make $1,000 for the month, then according to the law of the tithe, you would only pay $100 or 10% of that to God, and in a way to help His church, help the poor, and help build His kingdom. So that's pretty much it. I have a comic here that I think is hilarious. We have two guys walking out of a church, and all they have is their underwear on. And the one guy says to the other, "That was the best sermon on giving I've ever heard." And so if you don't think it's funny, think about it. You'll get it eventually. And that's it. All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead and write your one-page summary, and I look forward to seeing you at the first of the week. Bye-bye.